And that's it for the heroes. Up next is the villains? Dang it! There's so much to talk about them, too. Ugh, this video is going to take forever. Alright, let's get started. The primary villain of this series is Hawkmoth.
I wouldn't miss this show for anything.
Who we learn in Season 2 is Gabriel Agreste. Yeah, the villain of the show is Adrian's father. Star Wars! Now this is something I knew before binging the full series, but it's still a great revelation for the show. And his power of giving superpowers to other people is interesting. However, it seems that he can only give people with strong emotions these powers. This is only a theory, but we see more of his power in Season 5 when he looks into the ether of voices in Paris. And I will say, he has a unique suit when acting in his Hawkmoth persona, and his cane is a pretty interesting weapon. Now before I go into his hero suits from other seasons, Gabriel himself is very cold and heartless in the first 4 seasons, pretty much doing so intentionally to create chaos and get Ladybug and Cat Noir's Miraculous. But this doesn't stop at even his own son, with the only time in the first seasons we see him caring for Adrian and spending time with him was in the episode Gorizilla, when he sits down with his son to watch a movie starring his mother, Emily. And before we continue with his growing abilities, let's move on to his allies, as I want to explain what the new powers are before Gabriel gets his hands on the growing abilities. Also, when talking about his allies, I will try to do what I can to make sure I use a streamlined name for him, mostly referring to him as either Gabriel or Hawkmoth. And first up on that list is his personal assistant, Natalie Sancour. Now, out of the two, she's the one who raised Adrian, and feels more like a parent to him than Gabriel. Additionally, she's also in charge of everything going on for both the Agreste men. Now, there's not much else about her, except that she really does seem to care about Adrian, and we find out why in Season 5. Thanks to a video from Emily. But before that, she seems to more care about achieving Gabriel's dream, as she puts her safety in danger, allows Hawkmoth to turn her into Catalyst, and even taking the broken Peacock Miraculous to save Hawkmoth. With the Peacock Miraculous, she becomes Mayura, with a special power like Hawkmoth's, but instead can create a beast from a powerful emotion called a Sentimonster. And these Sentimonsters can come in any form, even in similar appearance to people like Ladybug. However, she doesn't use the Mayura persona very often, as the Peacock Miraculous was damaged, so its wound became Natalie's, and she remains practically hospitalized for seasons 4 and 5. However, she still does what she can to ensure Adrian lives his own life how he wants.
Didn't you want to make all your son's dreams come true?
So, at the start of Season 4, Gabriel fixes the Peacock Miraculous, and uses both Nuru and Dusu to combine their powers and become known as Shadow Moth. Now there's nothing really big to talk about in terms of his new powers, as he has the abilities of both Hawkmoth and Mayura. In the first quarter of Season 4, Ladybug is able to create magical charms to protect the citizens of Paris and ensure that Shadow Moth doesn't reakumatize people. But Shadow Moth's powers evolve to creating a Mega Kuma that can bypass the magical charms, which is pretty terrifying when we saw it in Dearest Family. And now, onto the design of Shadow Moth. So this is actually very unique, with the trench coat-like suit jacket, the lifted collar, and half the mask having that shaded eyepiece, which makes him look like Two-Face or Zuko. Now, there's one more ally I need to get to, but let's save that for after Gabriel's section. So, let's move on to season 5 of the show with the villain's final form. Yeah, in the season 4 finale, Gabriel gets a hold of Ladybug's magical yo-yo and gets all the miraculous, much to our and Ladybug's horror. So, with all these powers, he becomes Monarch, which makes a brand new outfit for him. Okay, this suit has way too much going on. Thankfully, we only have this look for the first 3 episodes, rounding about to maybe 22 minutes in total. Also, during their battle, Monarch causes Cat Noir to hit him with his cataclysm, which is something that becomes a problem for Gabriel for the rest of the season. After this fight, he changes all the miraculous into rings, and he gains a more interesting look as Monarch. When looking at this side by side with Hawkmoth, you can see they look very similar, but the Monarch look is much darker with very sinister eyes. And now, he can give powers to his villainous minions from the Miraculous. It's also very interesting, yet creepy, to see Gabriel caring for Adrian. It's beautiful because this makes Adrian feel much better about his life, but it's creepy because seeing Gabriel smile so much makes it seem like he's about to literally kill someone. However, when the season ends, he makes the ultimate sacrifice to ensure Adrian lives his own life, as well as bringing back his wife and Natalie, giving up his own life in exchange.
What do you wish for?
Read my heart.
What do you sacrifice?
Read my soul.
So be I.
And this was both shocking and touching for me, as he always wanted to bring his wife back, not caring whose life was going to be taken to make this possible. Yet now he chooses his own life. And while I would have liked to have seen one final interaction between him and his wife, with Adrian finally learning the truth, this is still a beautiful moment. It also took me almost 5 minutes before I realized he only changed the present, as it seemed that everything happened before the wish still happened, as Marinette and Adrian are still Ladybug and Cat Noir, the Miraculous are still Rings, and the Butterfly Miraculous is still missing.
Dark wings fall.
Now, the next character on this list is supposedly going to be the Hawkmoth equivalent for Season 6, Lila Rossi. Or Cerise Bianca. Yeah, as of now, we don't have a true identity for her, but we know that she goes by Lila for the majority of the show. But there's another school that she goes to in Confrontation where someone calls her Cerise. And on top of that, 3 different women who call her their daughter. Okay, so that's now 3 levels of confusion that we're at. And the reason for this is, her whole shtick is that she's a liar, a manipulator, and one of the primary villains working with Hawkmoth. After her first episode, she becomes a recurring villain, showing up every other episode to update Gabriel about what's going on with Adrian. And her Volpina and Hoaxer suits have the exact same design, just a different color, and she doesn't have a supervillain design as Chameleon, as she just transformed into other characters. She also has a true hatred for Marinette, probably more than Chloe, focused on making her life a living nightmare. It is also worth noting that she creates an alliance with Chloe during Season 5 just so that she can get her hands on the Butterfly Miraculous. Oh yeah, let's talk about that. Because they set it up in the Time Tagger episode, where the villain there, called Time Tagger, said he was sent by Hawkmoth, but that it wasn't Gabriel in the future who sent him. So, even if Lila's character trajectory wasn't planned from the start, they did at least have the first step already in place. And while we don't see her transform into her version of Hawkmoth here, as the Season 5 finale literally ends on a cliffhanger with an electric pulse and Lila screaming, I am excited to see where they take her character in Season 6. Oh yeah, and she more than likely lied to 3 different women into thinking she was their daughter. Man, what a bitch. Sorry you had to hear that, kids, but it's true. And now on to a character I needed to talk about in his own section. Felix Fathom. Now, he is Adrian's twin cousin. Wait, what? That is literally impossible! Okay, well this was here just so he could play a doppelganger in his self-titled episode, where he tricks all the characters into thinking Adrian hates them. Huh. Well, I never thought I'd have to use this clip again, but...
They have all tried to destroy me!
Yeah. 'Cause you're an asshole. And it's basically how his character is written in Seasons 3 and 4, with a hint of this in Season 5. I should also mention that he is also voiced by Bryce Papenbrook, and that Felix was the original name for Cat Noir in concept designs and the original trailer for the show. Now, he gets a Miraculous from Ladybug in the episode Strike Back, getting the dog Miraculous and becoming Flairmidable. You're kidding me, right? That is the dumbest name I have heard of this show, and that's coming from a show that has a superhero named Pigella. But Ladybug gave him the Miraculous because she thought he was Adrian. It's also with this Miraculous that he gains the power to get the Miraculous for Gabriel, whom he figured out was Shadow Moth, to get the Peacock Miraculous in return. Once he has that, he uses Dewsuit to become Argos, with his first reappearance being to create a world where adults and rules are practically non-existent. However, he learns a valuable lesson during this, and we see a hint of his origin when he tearfully releases Red Moon from its existence. But when we see him next, he appears to have a bit of a crush on Kagami, and the two of them, while I didn't personally like it at first, have great chemistry with each other, and they want the same thing: freedom from their oppressive lives. And the two form a close relationship, especially when they create a short play for Marinette, explaining the origins for both Adrian and Felix himself. Yeah, let's sidestep a bit and talk about the play in representation. This reveals so much and why certain things are the way they are. When the show started, Emily Agreste, who is Adrian's mother, was already quote-unquote gone, and revealed later to be in a coma from using the Peacock Miraculous. Now, I originally thought this meant that she used it to create something to get the grimoire, or to save her and Gabriel on a trip. However, it's revealed that she used it because she was unable to have kids, and so Adrian was created. Yeah, that came as a complete shock to me when I first saw the episode. That means our main character's love interest is a Sentimonster. You know, the things that tried to kill her the entire time? But it doesn't stop there. Remember when I said that it's physically impossible to have a twin cousin? Well, the show explains that Felix's father also used the Peacock Miraculous out of jealousy to create Felix, explaining why he looks exactly like Adrian, as neither Emily nor Amelie could have kids. So yeah, the reason they're twin cousins is because they're both Sentimonsters, made for the same purpose, with the same idea of what an heir to the family should look like. Well, there goes half my brain cells. But this also made me feel sorry for both of them, especially for Felix, as he didn't want the peacock miraculous for nefarious reasons, but to get the answers he deserved. And that's ultimately why I decided to talk about Felix separately from the heroes and villains. As of now, he's more of an anti-hero, working for his own good, but helping others when he needs to. I feel like he's going to get more to do in future seasons, hopefully becoming more of a hero. And I do want to see where his relationship with Kagami goes. And I do have to talk about his 2 hero suits. Formidable is, well, rather standard, as it looks very similar to Cat Noir, but that's really the inside joke. And Argos, well, that's also very standard, as it's just a hooded suit. I don't know, it doesn't really look all that impressive to me, but strangely enough, I said a similar thing when I first saw other hero designs. So, we haven't seen it very much, and if we'll see it in the future, I might have different opinions.
Why don't you create a Sentimonster to get us out of here?
First of all, don't call them that. You have a responsibility towards them. Your duty is to protect them, love them, help them discover the true meaning of their existence. To deprive them of that is monstrous.